month period.
I think what most DACA recipients are worried about is that their status is scheduled to lapse by 2020. Can you speak to that? I mean, when the president says they have nothing to worry about, they're all going to be
during this 6-month time. There are no changes that are being made to the program at this point. After that, again, the goal is that Congress makes a permanent fix, and that Congress actually does their job, and that we have responsible immigration reform that takes place over these 6 months, and those individuals won't be affected because they actually stepped up and did what they were asked to do by the American people.
On the debt ceiling
deal. When it comes to votes, is the president finding Schumer and Pelosi to be more reliable partners in getting votes than the Republican leaders?
Look, the president's committed to working with both Republicans and Democrats, and we're going to continue doing that and trying to get the best legislation we can for the American people. I hate to do this, but it's Friday and the president's departing, and I know several people have to step out for that. We'll be around the rest of the afternoon. If you guys have follow-up questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Thanks, guys.
I'm Ana Cabrera in New York. I want to welcome our viewers here in the United States and around the world. You've just been watching the White House press briefing as Hurricane Irma is approaching Florida. And we just got an update on the storm. Irma is now a Category 4 hurricane. Winds are over 150 miles per hour, so still very strong. And it has slightly shifted to the west, which means the entire Florida peninsula is now directly in its path. And that also means Miami could be in even greater danger. And as evacuation orders grow by the hour, millions are trying to get out with the entire state under threat. This is becoming the biggest mass hurricane evacuation in U.S. history, and you see that traffic moving very slowly. This is in Miami-Dade County, where an unprecedented 660,000 people have been ordered out. These pictures showing people pouring into the shelters there. Airports are jammed. We saw a line that seemingly had no end last night. The roads out of Florida are simply clogged. Gas stations are closing as this max exodus leads to a fuel shortage. We heard that mentioned by Tom Bossert, the White House Homeland Security advisor. Now, officials in South Florida, especially the Keys, are warning that if you decide to stay soon, they won't be able to help you.
You might as well leave now while you have a chance, because when you dial 911, you will not get an answer.
We have teams tracking all of Irma's developments from Miami to Daytona Beach, Palm Beach County, Key Largo. But I want to begin in the CNN Weather Center with meteorologist Pedram Javaheri. And Pedram, talk us through the latest storm track.
Yeah, you know, the latest update just came in, too, Anna, here in the 2 p.m. From the National Hurricane Center, and talking about this storm, incredibly, as remarkable as the storm is, incredibly strengthening up to 155 miles per hour. Now we're talking 2 miles per hour shy of being back up to a Category 5. At this point, that's negligible, but you take a look at this, and the reason I say incredible, because the southern periphery of this hurricane is over mountain ranges that rise up to 6,000 feet. So again, really sheds light on what a storm we're dealing with here across the Caribbean as it picks up further intensity moving up the coastline. So where are we headed with the storm system? The latest model's in. Here's what we're looking at for the European and the American. What you want to look for is consistency in the model runs. We did not have that the last couple of days, even 24 hours ago. It is absolutely the case that is in place right now across portions of central areas of the Keys here, from the American model towards the European model. You see the alignment is very much in place there for the storm system. So we're seeing that western shift and eventually a northern turn. That being Saturday night into Sunday. Tremendous agreement that the central Keys, whether it be Key Largo, whether it be points southward out there, say working your way on into areas around the central region of Marathon, that's where we think a landfall could be possible. But because of this track taking a direct route through Florida, it makes it an entirely different system. Now, we know hurricanes, every single one of them are different. They all have their own DNAs. But when it comes to a track of a storm like this, one that has so many superlatives lined up behind it, as far as the records it has already attained, it is going to pack a tremendous punch moving its way forward. 300-mile-an-hour tropical force winds. Notice the area in red as this makes landfall here on, we think, sometime early Sunday morning. That is hurricane force winds. And notice it move over land as we go from Sunday into Monday. This is not a hurricane for Miami. This is not a hurricane for Key West. This is not a hurricane for Tampa. It's a hurricane even for Orlando, even for Jacksonville, for just about anyone in its path here across the central portion of the state. We will have hurricane force winds going into early Monday, potentially even making it into southern Georgia. So once again, as impressive as a storm as we've seen in a very long time, Anna.
Pedram, are there any chances it could still make another turn?
You know, there always is a chance for a turn. At this point, the agreement has become such a narrow line. it would be very, very unlikely. So you're looking at one of the most reliable models we've seen with the storm system, literally going back 7 days, where it has similar alignment, being in blue there, the European model. The American was hundreds of miles apart. It has lined up in agreement with that. So we think it is just going to be almost entirely out of the question, and the window has just about closed here as far as getting it away from the state. And whether you are in the western part of the state, on the eastern side of the state, a hurricane that can sit on top of Texas and cover it with its cloud field is going to cause damage and impacts across all of the state of Florida.
All right, Pedram Javahari, we know you will be watching, as will the entire CNN weather team. And this is becoming a very, very dangerous situation. I want to get right to Florida and our Chris Cuomo, our colleague who's on the ground there. We see it's already a little bit windy there right now, Chris, but that's nothing compared to what they are going to be experiencing, what you will be experiencing here in the next couple of days.
Anna, spot on. In truth, this is pleasant. It is so hot here, especially on the beach. Any breeze is welcome. This is the beauty that belies the beast that is going to come. I'll tell you what we shouldn't like, Anna, is there are people on this beach. And look, they can play the game right now, but this is a mandatory evacuation center. And we just heard Governor Scott give a very simple message. Even I could understand it. Get out now. That is the message to not just mandatory evacuation areas, but he said all Floridians should be ready to evacuate. Why? Because they don't know what the reach of Irma is going to be. And I know it can sound like hype. I know storms have missed in the past. And frankly, Anna, as we both know, having been in the field on so many of these, we hope for that. We hope that the path somehow changes, though, as we know, the variables get much fewer as it comes closer through the Caribbean, over Cuba, and now heading to the Keys and into the mainland of Florida. It becomes less likely that the track changes. So they have about a 24-hour window to do the right thing for themselves and their safety, not to put themselves and the first responders at risk who have to come out and get them. We have the mayor of Miami Beach is going to be joining us in a few moments. He's coming from some of his preparations. So right now, I want to go to Brian Todd. He's in West Palm Beach. Police there are going door to door to see whether or not the residents are heeding the evacuation calls, and if those who remain have a plan and have supplies for 72 hours. Brian, what are you seeing?
Well, Chris, those police just came by here on South Flagler Drive with a loudspeaker, going door to door, saying this area is under a mandatory evacuation. Please evacuate. Across the intercoastal waterway at Palm Beach, they've already done that, but we're with people here who are going to ride this out. This is Emanuela and Mark Marcello. They're here on the South Flagler Drive, boarding up their home. Emanuela, you're going to stay. You've heard all the warnings. You've heard everybody on TV saying, and the governor, everybody saying you've got to get out. Why are you staying?
Yes, we feel a very secure home. Concrete block, hurricane shutters, sandbags. It's been around for 45 years. There's never been any damage. We have a lot of friends in this so-so neighborhood that are staying. We all feel confident, and they're all Floridians. I'm Canadian. I'm so not used to this. I'm totally freaked out. But we have a certain confidence in the structure of our home. But we're definitely taking precautions, and we do have a reservation at a hotel booked. Worst comes to worst, if we do get too nervous or what have you, in downtown, newest building in West Palm. So we're obviously going to be very secure there as well.
And Mark, you've been boarding up, you've been sandbagging this and boarding up with corrugated metal here. Yes. You're confident in the structure, but this is a Category 4. This could take off parts of your roof and all of that, and possibly with you guys in it. So still, you're okay to stay, at least for now.
We're certainly going to stay today. We have to be at the hotel by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning if we are going to keep the reservation. In all likelihood, we probably will go to the hotel, but we are going to stay here this evening.
What is the mentality of wanting to stay? You told me a short time ago you'd be surprised how many people want to ride this out. Why do people feel that way when the storm is so incredibly strong?
It's a good question. We have a lot of friends that are here and that have elected to stay. We also have friends that left and went to Naples, and now they're not very happy about that decision. We have friends that went to Atlanta, to Orlando. So I think there's risk in any area that you end up going, but it's a tough decision.
Good luck to both of you, and thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Chris, another complication of this evacuation is the very high concentration of elderly people here in Palm Beach County. There are a lot of them. They're trying to get them into secure locations. Some of them have special needs. There's one special needs shelter. That looks like it's going to be filled to capacity. So, again, that's a major complication in a county like Palm Beach where there's such a high concentration of elderly people, Chris.
And you're touching on two very distinct stay choices. One is the elderly, those who cannot leave, the infirm, and we're going to talk to one of the local leaders